Our Premier League insider David Ornstein, and we started the show this morning, David, talking about no Alexander Isak in the Liverpool squad. Arne Slot, we've played out his interview, says he wanted to give him a full week of training, but he will be involved in the Champions League in midweek. Is all of this expected, David?
To me, Rebecca, it's no surprise because of the saga that dragged on for so long. And don't forget that Alexander Isak was not training with Newcastle's first team. He didn't play any pre-season matches. He was essentially on strike to force his move through to Liverpool, and it didn't get done until the final 24-48 hours of that transfer window to finally bring the situation to an end. And you could look at it, and Liverpool ended with what? An expenditure of £125 million. Newcastle saw it as £130 million towards them. And sort of say to yourself, why did it go on for so long, given that weeks previously Liverpool indicated a willingness to do a deal in the region of £120 million? I think Newcastle, of course, were looking for their replacement. Should Isak have acted like he did? And it didn't really need to get to that late stage. And this is now the repercussion. And Arne Slot says he should be available in midweek, which will be good news for Liverpool fans. But when are we going to see the true Isak? It might take some weeks or even longer to really get up to full speed and make up for lost time. In the end, it was a situation of high tension and emotion, but I think everybody maybe wins at the end of the day. Isak gets his move, Liverpool their player, and Newcastle their money, and they move on the problem. They've been able to invest in the squad more fully, and we saw with an opening or a victory yesterday that they look in reasonable shape. They'll hope to put that in the past. They've got a new chief executive at the club now in David Hopkinson. They've got potentially a new sporting director with Ross Wilson from Nottingham Forest heavily linked to the role, and I think Eddie Howe will be relatively pleased with how they've come out of a very difficult period. What it did was expose tensions between Liverpool and Newcastle. In terms of everything that went on, it's all the more extraordinary because Eddie Howe, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, they go back a long way. They're really close friends, and that's a subplot to watch as the future unfolds. What Liverpool didn't get was a central defender, Mark Gahey. On deadline day, they did a medical for him in London. A deal was done at £35 million, a 5-year contract, but ultimately Steve Parish, Oliver Glasner, put the blocks on that. They wanted to keep him at Crystal Palace, and we'll see if Liverpool revisit that in the summer. Many other clubs will be there too because he'll be a free agent. He doesn't intend to sign a new contract. For now, Liverpool will be really happy with their business and their 4 existing central defensive options. Will we ever know what really went on in the background with Alexander Isak? Maybe the future will tell us, but for now, he's with them, just not playing today.
In terms of the Manchester derby later, David, the goalkeeping situation actually at both clubs is going to be a theme. But I want to talk to you about Manchester City because they brought back James Trafford at quite a price. And now they've brought in Gianluigi Donnarumma. So how's he going to manage this, Pep Guardiola?
Rebecca, the most remarkable year, 2025, of business in and out of the Etihad Stadium. A massive turnover of players, but perhaps the most significant situation is that goalkeeping department. They had a number 1 for 8 years. They've now brought in 2 in the space of just a few months. James Trafford, arriving from Burnley, he was led to believe that he would be the first choice, and you could say maybe he was for a few weeks. Now Gigi Donnarumma has come in, and you would assume, given his prestige, that he will take that mantle. We'll have to wait and see what today brings. And I think Man City would turn around and say, well, that was the situation, and we were planning to keep Ederson and Ortega as our options behind Trafford until Donnarumma became available at PSG. And every conversation I had at PSG, they thought it would go down to deadline day. They thought the move to Manchester City would happen. Pep Guardiola is a long-term admirer of Donnarumma, and it will be really interesting to see how he deals with this challenge, you could say, in terms of the style of play, but also what happens next for Trafford. For now, that's Pep Guardiola's issue. He's under contract for a couple of years with that new deal he signed. But people around football feel that that was really intended to be a 1-year contract. The 2 was more for the optics, to keep the pressure off for the longer term, give them a bit of wiggle room. But if this is to be Guardiola's last season, then the problem really falls in the hands of Hugo Viana, the new sporting director, who took over fully this summer from Cheeky Bagirstein. And this was his first transfer window, so he will be judged on that somewhat. Although many I speak to feel that you can't really judge Hugo Viana in this new role until he has his own head coach in place. So we'll see what the future brings on that front. It was a busy summer. on the pitch, but also off it in recent times too. Manchester City's dispute with the Premier League over the associated party transactions, essentially sponsorship deals, has been resolved and settled. We don't know the full details of it, but the suggestions we've had is that the current rules will remain in place, so that could be perceived as a good thing for the Premier League. But City, I'm sure, will have got some concessions too. That's been put to one side, but ongoing, the last unresolved situation involves the 115-130 charges, and some reports suggest we will finally hear an outcome in the coming weeks, but we've been saying that for months really now. So let's see what happens on that front. But yeah, as for now, here at the Etihad Stadium, it's all about the goalkeepers, and we'll see who Pep Guardiola goes with today.
Yeah, on those charges, I think we're all starting to give up, I think. David, thank you so much. We'll speak to you soon.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long, and for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.